you very much for joining us. Today I'm talking to Dr Donna McRae, who's a lecturer in film and television at Deakin for the past several years. Thank you very much for talking to us.
It's a pleasure. Hello out there.
Yeah, could you please tell us a little bit about your background, how you came to be talking to me today?
Okay, well, I'm a filmmaker and I have spent about 10 or 15 years trying to make films in that industry, and I've started to work at Deakin about 3 years ago. I did a PhD at Monash University where I made a feature film called Johnny Ghost, and yeah, that's it.
Fantastic, yeah. The reason that our main focus in this video is crowdfunding, and the great thing about talking to someone like you is that I can get a broader perspective than my own, which is someone who spends way too much money on board game projects, of someone who's actually been there twice. Twice, I believe, you've actually put together crowdfunding projects. I met you virtually, I suppose, through the Cobby project. Can you tell us who Cobby is?
Cobby, it's a documentary called Cobby, the Dark Side of Cute. And what happened was, as a little girl in Adelaide, I used to watch this show called Cobby's Hobbies. It was a 4-minute show and it was just sort of stuck in between other children's programs. And being from Adelaide, I thought that everybody knew who Cobby was. So as I grew up and then I moved to Melbourne and I'd ask, do you remember Cobby's Hobbies? No one ever did. No one ever knew it. So years went by and I found that the only people that used to know about Cobby was people of a certain age, like my age, and only that went to Adelaide, that lived in Adelaide. So after a while, years, I started digging around on the internet and finally found a really old, archaic internet forum that sort of said, we've got a chimpanzee called Cobby who lives at the San Francisco Zoo, and we think that he did a TV program in the 1960s. Does anyone know about it? And all these people from Adelaide going, yes, we know about Cobby. And then under that, there was this gentleman called Wendell, and he was saying, I used to work on this program. I'm in Kansas City. It was shot there. So that, for me, just let off a whole heap of fireworks, and I was going, oh my goodness, I finally found him, but still hadn't found any programs, because the 4-minute programs were long gone. So I started to live with it, and then I started to think, this would be a really interesting story. So I started to think about making a doco, which led me to the crowdfunding campaign, because I'd shot everything, and then through Deakin Research My World, we thought that it would make a really great crowdfunding platform for me to get money in order to do post-production editing.
Yeah. Fantastic. It was a great little project, and I'm going to put some screenshots of the project up, and thank you for the permission for those, because it's an accessible project for anyone, animal lovers. It's within an academic context, which in some ways can be seen as restricted in terms of crowdfunding, but you can actually, the way you pitch it is really key, isn't it? You put together a video pitch as part of that, and you write an accessible sort of project description, all that kind of thing. Can you tell us a little bit about the process of that, you making the video, and what you were trying to do in that context?
Okay, well, we did have a big meeting about the way to go about it, and it was this sort of straddling the academic sphere about research, and then I was really keen to go in the sort of the general sort of film direction as well, which is a really simple idea about the documentary, and sort of pitch it in a way that people that were used to funding films would get this. So I guess probably out of all the research projects that Deakin have got behind in Research My World, mine was sort of one that was really easily seen as a film project, a documentary project. So we decided, I wrote a little blurb, and then we filmed the video pitch. And I wanted to get across this sort of caring kind of human side of how I felt about finding Cobby after all these years, because now he's 56 years old. I'd never realised that chimpanzees would live that long.
You're probably surprised a great deal of many viewers, actually, yeah.
Yeah, 56 years old, and he's still going strong. They actually live up to about 70 years in captivity, about 60 in the wild. Not that there's any of them left much in the wild anymore. And also, the other thing that I wanted to get across was something that I learnt through the doco, which was the way that we are making the doco is my journey towards how chimpanzees in entertainment are treated, which isn't very nice, because what happens when... So I really thought that chimpanzees were all small. And what I found out was that I just saw the babies that were in entertainment, because once they grow, once chimpanzees get to about 6 years old, you can't manoeuvre them anymore. They won't obey you. They're just like a normal child, a human child. And when they get to adolescence, they're too strong, they're too dangerous, they bite, they can kill you. And so all these adult or adolescent chimpanzees were being just discarded. And this was a story that I found out when I was just investigating what happened to Cobby, the entertainer. So I also wanted to skew that video pitch to people's hearts, because I wanted to get the message out there. Like, I didn't want to preach, but I wanted to sort of create an awareness project, because I believe that in Australia, because we've never let exotic animals be pets. Where Cobby lives, he was born in the wild, and he was his mother was killed, and then he was trafficked over to America. This was early in the 1960s. You can't do that anymore, not to America anyway. But there's this whole heap of chimpanzees living in captivity being discarded after entertainment and pets. So I wanted to get across that, but not in a sort of a preachy way. So it was sort of this balancing act between research, between a film project, and the message of awareness.
Yeah, that's a great point. I hadn't thought, but the power of media is to engage the emotions just as much as the mind, isn't it?
Yes.
And that's the whole point. So any kind of video pitch in some way would be really well designed to actually do that. Yeah, fantastic.
I wanted to sort of create some sort of emotional level in that pitch to do it.
Yeah.
It was hard, but we got there.
Well, I've seen a lot of projects that don't have a video. And I mean, it's essentially doomed from the start when you don't have that, or if it's just a few written captions in video form just to fill up that space. So it is an absolute necessity, and to have a good video does really, to have video making skills, which is what I do a lot of in my teaching, even if they're not absolute professional studio quality video making skills. These projects generally aren't using that on Kickstarter and all these other projects, but being able to use a short video to complement whatever written description is so crucial. So yeah, it's really good to hear. My students, a lot of people watching this at the moment will be making videos, so it's really a great thing to hear that, this has real world application. I could make a 5 to 7 minute video and it can go up and potentially launch your career in a sense for some artists and all the different contexts that crowdfunding is used for. It's really transforming various industries, if not being the absolute crux of many industries, several industries at the moment itself.
Well, I think so too. You need to see who you're giving money to, and see what they're all about, because it's sort of, I just wouldn't just give money blindly off. So, you want to actually look into the eyes of someone who's pitching and work out whether they're authentic or not.
That's another great point. I promote the importance, if you can, of being on camera. I don't mandate it, but students are often quite anxious about that, being on camera and being the face on the screen, whereas it's, I think I've mentioned recently that it's so easy. I can do in one take, I play a character, but it takes me 50 goes to be me. And I'm sure that you had a lot of takes being you in that video pitch, because these days the hardest character we have to play is ourselves, but that's the character that the world expects us to play.
Yeah, exactly.
Because of this social media world. On which note, a nice little segue here, which I hadn't planned, social media. You had to engage through a video pitch initially, but I saw you on Twitter a lot, probably a lot more then than I would now, just by virtue of the fact you were doing crowdfunding. Can you tell us a little bit about your use of Facebook and Twitter in that kind of time period of 30 days?
Yeah, 30 days it was, a month. So I'd linked my Facebook page, Cobby the Chimp, for anyone out there. Please join it and see the rest of the journey.
The links will be there. Yep.
And plus my own Twitter handle, is that what it is?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my own Twitter handle. I've got two, one for my other film, Johnny Ghost film, and this one. And I just was on there the whole time. So the Facebook page was, I kept pushing articles about chimpanzees in entertainment and pictures of, because I had a lot of pictures of me when we went to America twice to do interviews. So I had a lot of photos and stuff like that. So I kept putting them up. I kept talking to the Facebook group. Well, it was a page, but the people that were on there, telling them next day one, promoting the campaign, trying to have every sort of 4 days or so have an extra prize, like first person to pledge today gets extra badge or whatever, I also used the Facebook and Twitter pages as to acknowledge people that had pledged. So any time I got a pledge, I would go straight to Facebook and thank them, and do the same as Twitter. And Twitter was much more for thanking people and then just to reaching out to other people. Like I don't know how many tweets I sent to Ricky Gervais. And he never did it. Yeah. But I did have a lot of Australian comedians for some reason. They must have thought that it was funny about a chimp. And a lot of them had social consciences, like were vegetarian. I can't think of their names now, but they promoted it. They retweeted, and that was really, really good and handy for me to then retweet that. And then just to sort of search for chimpanzees on Twitter and engage with people that were there, just like, hi, have you heard of this, Cobby the chimp? I felt a bit embarrassed doing it, it was really hard to ask for money, but most of them were okay, actually. And the ones, I didn't get any abuse. If the people probably didn't like it, they just didn't do anything. So that was pretty good. And so the Facebook page, I also sponsored how you can pay for an ad in Facebook. So I paid for probably an ad once a week. So that was 4 ads, and just the very minimal sponsorship of the ads. It cost me something like $5 a week or whatever. And I could target the audience. And through that I got more people. So it was very productive, Facebook and Twitter. I probably got more pledges from Facebook than Twitter, but I got more people. The outreach was bigger on Twitter. And I did get quite a few people from Twitter that would pledge, but Facebook was probably the main thing. And it wasn't all friends and family, it was people that were actually really interested in chimpanzees.
Yeah, I've used a reading as part of a topic on this week that looks at academic crowdfunding projects and points to the kind of the limitation. But again, when you have that accessible project that can go broader than friends, family, academic community, that's where we can really see these kind of projects come to fruition. And fantastic. It's interesting you talk about the balancing act of being marketing your own work in a big sense, because I notice a lot of Twitter profiles that if you follow them, you'll get an instant private message back saying, please do. Did you use the private message function, or were you mainly public tweeting with their handles?
I was public tweeting. I must say, I don't like those private messages, when those instant messages come back. I don't like it when it happens to me, so I didn't do it myself. Just because I'd rather just know that there was a human behind the Twitter handle, so I would try and personalise it if they followed me.
It's an interesting, it's sort of like, it almost feels like, well, at least it would be more private. Your sending a message would sound on the surface to be more intimate, that you send a private message that's just for you. Whereas the ethics of social media get constantly renegotiated, and it's actually really frowned upon. It can damage reputation by sending those private messages just on the basis of who's following you and things. So it's hard to keep track of, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's interesting to see how it worked for you.
Yeah, well, I just felt my gut feeling thought, no, I'm not just doing any instant messages, because then they realise that there's, this is a money-making affair, which it was. But, I just wanted to make it a little bit more authentic and more about myself.
Great. Yeah, no, authenticity is so crucial, and that comes into everything you did, from the video pitch through to your social media interactions. And I wanted to ask you about the updates, because you not only had to kind of constantly reach the broaden your audience, broaden your potential audience and your potential backers, but also keep everyone who was already backing you happy for those 30 days, because anyone can back out. For those people who haven't done crowdfunding, you can cancel your payment anytime up to the point where that project is funded. So, and I think most crowdfunding sites would essentially be like that. So you've got to do these updates which are getting emailed to backers. And so how did you find that kind of process? And I guess in the aftermath of after the funding has been obtained, you've got an ongoing kind of process of keeping everyone in the loop, in a sense. Yeah.
Well, I had a rush at the start. There was quite a few that did it, and then I was warned about the Valley of Death in the middle, which is probably the 10-day mark, right through then to probably the last week. And I'd sort of calculated that if I could get, I think it was something like $100 a day, I would make my target. And it was ahead of that right at the start, and then the Valley of Death came down, and I was like only getting like a couple of days. I only got like $10, and there was probably one day that I didn't get anything, but that was about it, you know, because it kind of was this constant dribble. So I just thought, and I knew that I had to keep my backers, you know, alive and interested as well and engaged, so they would keep tweeting. So it was just these messages of, they were sort of like messages of hope from the darkness of the Valley of Death, you know. Hi, you know, thank you so much. We've got, you know, this amount of backing. We've, you know, and just I tried to give them news updates on Cobby, because I'd met this woman who lived in San Francisco and who visited him quite a bit. And I asked her if she would, you know, maybe take some photos of him, like really recent photos, and tweet. And she did more than that. She got her friend to animate a picture of him, and he was talking, and, you know, things like that I tried to put on these updates just to keep everyone happy and still with me, and just kept asking them, can you please, you know, retweet, can you, you know, post this on Facebook again, can you tell your friends, all that kind of thing. And I think they did, you know, because they were all still there with me. And towards the end, on the last day or the night before, and we still hadn't got, we were so close. And, you know, I had quite a few good luck messages come in from those people that had already pledged and saying, let us know if you don't get there, you know. And obviously, you know, the assumption there was that they would put in a little bit more, but they didn't need to. But, you know, so it was really important to keep those people happy. And also after, now that because the funding, it started June last year, so it's nearly a year since I did it. And we still haven't finished what we set out to do. So I'm constantly, well, not that constantly, because I don't want to hit them with emails all the time, but just probably every month or 6 weeks I try and do another update saying, you know, it's going slowly, but it's looking really great, and I can't wait to show you, and just to keep everybody interested, because ultimately they're going to be my audience. They're the ones that are going to see it.
Yeah, no, it's fascinating stuff.
People.
Yeah, the lull in the middle is, I love the metaphor of the Valley of Death, because the lull, I see that in so many different kinds of projects. You have even some, you know, 30 to 50,000 projects can be 500% funded within the first 12 hours, and then nothing happens. And so imagine that whole process. I mean, what do you do once it's funded? You actually, you know, you have to sort of have, well, Pozible doesn't allow stretch goals. From what I understand, like Kickstarter does. So I love your idea of gamifying the ways in which you sort of said, oh, the first person that does this, you make little mini competitions as part of it. That's a fantastic kind of strategy to do that. And the extra content, that's sort of, it's really the time management for a project that is relatively small in the big scheme of things. The time that you had to put into it is absolutely immense.
Exactly. Well, the first campaign that I did that's successful was 5,000. This one was 11,000. Same time as for 5 as for 11. I did this Cobby one by myself. The other one I had two other people doing it with me. But yes, so it's sort of like the amount doesn't really make a difference. It's like the actual work that you need to put into it. So it's like you just have to be on it. Like I think on Pozible they say, oh, you have to allow like 2 extra hours a day or something like that, or 5 a week. It's not that. It's so much more than that. Yeah. You know, it's really, you just have to, it's a full-time job. If anyone thinks that they can just put it on a platform and leave it, you won't get anything.
There's actually a great website of I think it's called Kick Ended. There's actually a website of the crowdfunding projects that didn't get up, that people just look at, and that had zero backers or anything. And they are invariably people who had no organisation, who did throw something up, and it got through the process of crowdfunding. You actually have to kind of get it approved, in a sense too. So it's fascinating. The process is hugely time intensive and effort intensive, and thank you very much for sharing those experiences, because I think you can't get that from anyone who hasn't been there. Absolutely, you wouldn't have known it before you started. And certainly you know it now. Yeah.
I certainly know it now. But there's also what it does is also make you care about the people that pledge, because I've put hard-earned money, and I got very small donations, but I also got some very large ones, and it's to think that someone who I don't know puts this amount of money into something that they believe in, just because I've pitched it right, for them it really means a lot. It's something that I think it's not a burden, but it's a responsibility for them then to keep your end of the bargain, because they've pledged the money. I believe that you're going to say you're going to do what you say you're going to do. So now I've said, well, there's no way I'm not going back, because they put in this money, they believe in me, so I've got to finish it.
But it's motivating you too, and that's a great thing. And
exactly.
It really shows how online media is, in lots of different ways, not only crowdfunding, but transforming the relationship between the creator or the producer and what we used to call the audience, and whatever they're conceived of now. It's fantastic to get that from the other side of the spectrum. So thank you very much for your time. That's fantastic.
That's a pleasure.
Cheers. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.